The global power shift, how the Ukraine war rewired the world. In the early 2020s, the world was already changing, but the war in Ukraine accelerated history. What began as a regional conflict soon became the central event of a generation, reshaping economies, alliances, and the very meaning of power. For decades, globalization promised stability, but as tanks crossed borders, that illusion shattered. The war became a mirror, reflecting not only the fragility of peace, but the birth of a new world order. Today, power is no longer about who has the most weapons, but who controls energy, technology, and information. This is the story of how one war transformed the planet. The end of globalization. For 30 years, the world believed in the power of trade to prevent war. Nations that traded together were thought to stay at peace together. But the invasion of Ukraine shattered that illusion, revealing how interconnected economies can still turn against each other. Sanctions replaced diplomacy. Energy pipelines turned into weapons. Globalization didn't end overnight, but it fractured. The world began to split into blocks again, democracies on one side, authoritarian states on the other. Supply chains were redrawn, and trust, once the currency of global trade, became a casualty of war. The new economic front lines. Economics became the new battlefield. Sanctions, tariffs, and resource control replaced tanks and missiles. Western economies learned to live without Russian gas, while Moscow learned to survive without the West. Meanwhile, China positioned itself as a silent observer, benefiting from both sides, waiting for its moment. The Cold War of commerce had begun, and unlike the first, this one was fought with chips, data, and trade routes, not nuclear arms. The War of Technology. The Ukraine war was also the first true digital war. Drones replaced soldiers in the sky. Satellites guided precision strikes. Cyber attacks became weapons of mass disruption. But the real battle was invisible, fought in the world of microchips and artificial intelligence. Whoever controls technology now controls destiny. And in this new age, power is not about territory, but networks. Alliances reforged. The war redefined alliances. NATO expanded, the EU united, and even neutral states took sides. Old rivalries faded in the face of a common threat. The United States returned as the guarantor of freedom in Europe, while nations like Poland and the Baltics emerged as new leaders of resolve. Across the globe, security pacts multiplied, from AUKUS to the Indo-Pacific coalitions. The message was clear: collective defense is back, and it's global. The information battlefield. Wars are no longer fought only with bullets, but with narratives. The struggle for truth became as fierce as the fight for territory. Disinformation, propaganda, and online manipulation blurred the line between fact and fiction. Yet out of the chaos, independent journalism, open data, and global solidarity rose stronger than ever. In the age of lies, truth became the most powerful weapon. Europe's reinvention. Europe, once divided by dependence, found new strength in autonomy. From renewable energy to defense industries, a new generation of leaders emerged, with one mission: never again be held hostage by aggression. The scars of war became blueprints for resilience. Europe is no longer a continent of peace only, it is a continent of purpose. The rise of the Global South. While the West and Russia clashed, another story unfolded. In Africa, Latin America, and South Asia, nations began asserting independence from global powers. The Global South no longer wished to be spectators, but players in their own right. They sought partnerships, not patronage; influence, not instructions. The balance of power was shifting not only between East and West, but between North and South. A new world emerges. The world after the Ukraine war will not return to what it was. Trust is fractured, alliances are redrawn, and the rules of power have changed. But from the ashes of conflict rises a possibility, a chance to rebuild a world that values cooperation over coercion and justice over dominance. The global power shift is not just political, it's human. Every act of resistance, every stand for truth, every nation that chooses peace writes the next chapter of history. The future has already begun. A 10-minute cinematic documentary exploring how the Russia-Ukraine war reshaped global power, ending the age of globalization and ushering in a new era of alliances, technology wars, and global realignment.